The observation deck of the human research vessel Horizon's Edge hummed with quiet efficiency as Dr. Emily Carter made her final adjustments to the atmospheric sensors. 3 months into their diplomatic mission to the Veltari homeworld, the crew had grown accustomed to the strange beauty of the alien system, but tonight something felt different. Commander Jessica Walsh stood beside the panoramic viewport, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she watched the twin moons of Veltara Prime cast their silver light across the planet's crystalline surface. The diplomatic talks had been progressing slowly, typical for first contact protocols, but recent developments suggested a breakthrough was imminent. "Commander," Emily called from her station, "I'm picking up an unscheduled transport approaching from the surface." Jessica turned, her gray eyes sharp with interest. "Expected passengers?" "Unknown, but the signature matches Veltari diplomatic vessels." Emily's fingers danced across her console. "Wait, there's something else. I'm detecting a secondary craft, much smaller. The energy readings are unlike anything in our database." The blast doors to the observation deck whispered open, admitting Ambassador Lisa Thompson and her aide, Dr. Rachel Brooks. Lisa's expression carried the cautious optimism that had characterized her negotiations with the Veltari Council. "Good evening, Commander," Lisa said, approaching the viewport. "Princess Thyra Vel has requested an impromptu meeting. Apparently she wants to discuss something away from the formal council chambers." Jessica nodded. The Veltari princess had proven to be one of the more progressive voices among her people, advocating for stronger ties with humanity despite significant opposition from traditionalist factions. Her pale blue skin and elongated features marked her as nobility among her species, but it was her keen intelligence and diplomatic acumen that had impressed the human delegation. "Any idea what this is about?" Jessica asked. Before Lisa could respond, Emily's voice cut through their conversation. "Commander, you need to see this." All 4 women turned toward the viewport as a sleek, organic-looking vessel emerged from behind one of the moons. Its hull seemed to shift and flow like liquid mercury, and bioluminescent patterns pulsed along its surface in mesmerizing waves of color. "That's not Veltari technology," Rachel breathed, her anthropological training immediately recognizing the fundamental differences in design philosophy. The mysterious craft took position alongside the approaching Veltari diplomatic vessel, matching its trajectory toward the Horizon's Edge. As it drew closer, the humans could make out graceful spires and flowing curves that seemed grown rather than built. "I'm receiving a transmission," Emily announced. "It's from the unknown vessel. Audio only." "Put it through," Jessica ordered. A melodious voice filled the observation deck, speaking in accented but clear English. "Human vessel Horizon's Edge. This is Captain Aria of the Sylvan Exploration Corps. I carry greetings from the Woodland Confederacy and request permission to dock alongside our Veltari friends." The 4 women exchanged glances. The Sylvan Confederacy was a name from their xenological databases, a mysterious alliance of species that had maintained strict isolation for centuries. First contact with them had been considered a distant possibility at best. "This is Commander Walsh of the Horizon's Edge," Jessica responded. "Permission granted, Captain Aria. Welcome to our humble vessel." An hour later, the observation deck had been transformed into an impromptu reception area. Princess Thyra Vel stood near the central table, her 4-fingered hands gesturing gracefully as she spoke with Lisa about trade agreements. The princess's translator device rendered her liquid, musical language into crisp English, but her natural charisma needed no translation. When the airlock chimed, announcing the arrival of their unexpected guests, all conversations ceased. The doctor slid open to reveal 2 figures that left the humans momentarily speechless. Captain Aria stepped through first, and Emily felt her breath catch. The alien woman stood tall and graceful, her movements fluid and purposeful. Her skin held a subtle green tint that seemed to shift with the light, and her long silver hair was woven with what appeared to be living vines bearing tiny, luminescent flowers. Most striking were her eyes, large, luminous green orbs that seemed to hold depths of ancient wisdom. Behind her came another figure, clearly of the same species but younger. This woman's hair cascaded in waves of gold and copper, and her clothing appeared to be made from materials that grew and breathed like living tissue. When she smiled, the gesture lit up her entire face with warmth that transcended species barriers. "Humans of Earth," Arya said, her voice carrying a musical quality that seemed to resonate in the chest. "I present Lyra, daughter of the Silverleaf clan and representative of our people to this historic gathering." Lyra stepped forward with practiced diplomatic grace, but her eyes held curiosity rather than the formal distance typical of first contact situations. "We have watched your species from afar for some time," she said, her accent carrying hints of wind through leaves. "Your courage in reaching for the stars despite your relatively young civilization has impressed our councils greatly." Princess Thyravel glided over, her own alien beauty complementing rather than competing with the newcomers. "I took the liberty of inviting our Sylvan friends to join us," she explained to the humans. "There are matters of mutual interest that require discussion among all three of our peoples." As the evening progressed, the observation deck became a microcosm of interstellar diplomacy. Emily found herself drawn into conversation with Lyra about botanical sciences, learning that the Sylvan species had evolved symbiotically with their planet's flora. Rachel engaged Arya in discussions about cultural exchange, while Lisa and Jessica worked with Princess Thyravel to establish the framework for a three-way alliance. But it was during a quiet moment, as the three alien women stood together near the viewport, looking out at the stars, that Emily experienced something profound. The sight of Princess Thyravel's crystalline beauty, Captain Arya's ethereal grace, and Lyra's radiant warmth combined into something that seemed to represent the very best of what the universe had to offer. "The most beautiful sight I've ever seen," Emily whispered to herself, not realizing she had spoken aloud. Lyra's sensitive hearing caught the words, and she turned toward Emily with an expression of gentle curiosity. For a moment, their eyes met across the species divide, and Emily saw recognition there, not of her words, but of the sentiment behind them. But then Lyra's gaze shifted away, drawn by something beyond Emily's understanding. The moment passed, leaving Emily with the realization that beauty in the universe came in forms far more varied and wonderful than humanity had ever imagined. As the night wore on and preliminary agreements took shape, Emily understood that this meeting represented more than just diplomatic progress. It was proof that in the vast cosmos, intelligence and beauty manifested in countless ways, and that humanity's journey to the stars would be enriched by encounters with beings whose very existence expanded the definition of what it meant to be alive and conscious in an infinite universe.